The Wheeler Veterinary Group is legendary in our field. Dr. Amanda Collins said those words while standing 3 feet from my mother at my cousin's baby shower. And I watched 28 years of dismissal shatter across my parents' faces in real time. My father's champagne glass tilted so far his drink nearly spilled. My mother's hand flew to her pearls like she'd been slapped. And my golden cousin Jessica, the family star whose party this was supposed to be, went pale as the white tablecloths. Before I tell you what happened when the woman they'd spent 3 decades overlooking turned out to be a multi-millionaire standing in plain sight, take a moment to subscribe and comment below where you're watching from. This story might just change how you see family, success, and the quiet ones who build empires while everyone's looking elsewhere. My name is Megan Wheeler. I'm 31 years old, and for my entire life, I've been the invisible child. Not invisible in the tragic, neglected sense. My parents fed me, clothed me, sent me to decent schools. I was invisible in the way that middle children often are when they're sandwiched between extraordinary siblings and happen to be quiet, unremarkable, and passionate about something the family considers trivial. My older brother Derek became a cardiovascular surgeon. My younger sister Paige is a corporate attorney at a Fortune 500 company. And then there's me, the one who just likes pets. That's literally how my mother introduced me at family gatherings. This is Derek, our surgeon. This is Paige, our lawyer. And this is Megan. She likes pets. Not Megan, the veterinarian. Not Megan, the business owner. Just Megan, the one who likes pets. From the time I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to work with animals. I rescued injured birds from our backyard. I begged my parents for every stray cat I found. I volunteered at the local shelter starting at age 12, and spent every weekend cleaning kennels and socializing dogs that no one else wanted. My parents tolerated it the way you tolerate a child's phase. They assumed I'd grow out of it. I didn't. When I announced I was going to veterinary school, my father actually laughed. Vet school? Megan? That's sweet. But what are you actually going to do that? I asked what I'm actually going to do. My mother patted my hand like I was confused. Sweetheart, being a vet is fine as a hobby, but it doesn't exactly compare to surgery or law, does it? Maybe consider it as a backup plan. I didn't argue. I just applied to UC Davis, one of the top veterinary programs in the country, and got in. When I told my parents, they nodded politely and immediately changed the subject to Derek's latest procedure. Vet school was brutal. For years of grueling coursework, clinical rotations, and sleepless nights, I graduated with honors. I received multiple job offers. And when I told my family, my mother said, "That's nice, dear. Now Paige just made junior partner. Isn't that wonderful?" I stopped expecting recognition. I stopped hoping they'd understand. Instead, I built. My first job was at a small clinic in Portland, Oregon. The owner was a 70-year-old veterinarian named Dr. Harold Pennington, who'd been practicing for 45 years. He had no children, no succession plan, and a clinic that was outdated, but full of loyal clients who adored him. I worked there for 2 years, learning everything I could, not just about medicine, but about business. I watched how he managed inventory, handled difficult clients, balanced the books. When he mentioned he was thinking about retiring, I made him an offer. I would buy the clinic. He would stay on as a consultant for 1 year to help with the transition, and I would rename it the Wheeler Veterinary Clinic, carrying on his legacy while building something new. Dr. Pennington cried when he signed the papers. "You're going to do great things, Megan. I can feel it." He was right. Within 2 years, I'd modernized the clinic, expanded our services, and tripled our revenue. I hired 3 additional veterinarians and a full support staff. I implemented a low-cost spay and neuter program that served hundreds of families who couldn't otherwise afford it. And then I opened a second location and a third and a fourth. By the time I was 30, the Wheeler Veterinary Group had 4 thriving animal hospitals across the Pacific Northwest. We employed 47 people. We'd been featured in veterinary industry publications. We'd won awards for our community service programs. And my parents still introduced me as Megan, who likes pets. They had no idea. None. I never told them because honestly, what was the point? Every time I tried to share something I was proud of, graduating vet school, buying the clinic, opening my second location, They nodded politely and redirected to Derek or Paige. After a while, I just stopped sharing. They thought I worked at a vet clinic. They assumed I was some kind of assistant or technician. They never asked for details, and I never offered them until my cousin Jessica's baby shower. Jessica was my Aunt Karen's daughter, the golden grandchild of the Wheeler family. She'd married a tech executive, lived in a house that cost more than most people make in a lifetime, and was now pregnant with the first great-grandchild. The baby shower was held at a country club, catered, and attended by about 80 people. I almost didn't go. These family events always left me feeling small and overlooked. But my grandmother had specifically requested I attend, and I could never say no to her. So, I put on a nice dress, drove 3 hours to Seattle, and prepared to smile through another afternoon of being invisible. What I didn't know was that Jessica had invited her new neighbor, a veterinarian named Dr. Amanda Collins, who'd recently moved to Seattle from California. I was standing by the punch bowl trying to avoid small talk when a woman approached me with wide eyes. "Oh my goodness, Dr. Wheeler, Dr. Megan Wheeler." I blinked. No one at family events called me doctor. "Yes, I'm Dr. Amanda Collins. I just moved here from San Diego. I can't believe I'm meeting you in person." She grabbed my hand and shook it enthusiastically. "Your 5th location opening in Seattle. I'm so inspired. The Wheeler Veterinary Group is legendary in our field. Your low-cost programs, your staff retention rates, your community partnerships. I've studied your business model extensively." I became aware very slowly that the conversations around us had stopped. My mother was standing 6 feet away, a cucumber sandwich frozen halfway to her mouth. My father had turned from his conversation with my uncle, his brow furrowed in confusion. Jessica's perfectly composed smile had flickered into something uncertain. "5th location?" my mother asked, her voice strange. "Megan works at a vet clinic." Dr. Collins laughed like my mother had made a joke. "Works at Mrs. Wheeler. Your daughter owns the Wheeler Veterinary Group. 5 animal hospitals across Oregon and Washington. She's one of the most successful veterinary entrepreneurs on the West Coast." She turned to me with admiration. "The article in Veterinary Practice News called you the future of compassionate animal care. I have it framed in my office." The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the ice settling in the punch bowl. My father cleared his throat. 5 hospitals. That's right. I took a slow sip of my punch, letting the moment breathe. "The Seattle location opens next month. Our biggest one yet." My mother looked like someone had rearranged the furniture in her brain. "But you never. Why didn't you tell us?" I tried. I kept my voice calm, pleasant even several times. "When I bought my first clinic, I called to share the news. You said, 'That's nice,' and asked if I'd heard about Derek's promotion. When I opened my 2nd location, I mentioned it at Christmas dinner. You nodded and changed the subject to Paige's engagement. After a while, I shrugged. I stopped trying. Dr. Collins looked mortified. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize." "Don't apologize," I said warmly. "You didn't do anything wrong. I'm glad you're opening a practice in Seattle. We should have coffee sometime." She nodded, still looking uncomfortable, and excused herself. My family stood frozen around me like statues. Even Jessica seemed to have forgotten it was her baby shower. It was my grandmother who broke the silence. She'd been sitting quietly in the corner. But now she rose and walked toward me with that slow, deliberate grace that 91 years had given her. She took my face in her wrinkled hands and smiled. "I always knew," she said softly. "I read every article. I followed every opening. I have a folder in my desk full of clippings about my Megan." Tears pricked my eyes. "Grandma, you never needed them to see you, sweetheart." She glanced at my parents with something like disappointment. "But they should have. They should have looked." She hugged me then. This tiny woman who'd always made me feel seen, even when I was just the quiet kid who liked pets. The rest of the baby shower was awkward to say the least. My mother kept trying to corner me for private conversations. "Megan, I don't understand. How could you keep this from us?" "I didn't keep it from you," I said patiently. "I just stopped announcing it when you made it clear you weren't interested. But 5 hospitals, that's millions of dollars. $14 million in revenue last year actually. But who's counting? Her face went through about 6 different expressions before settling on something that looked almost like awe. My father found me later by the dessert table. He stood beside me in uncomfortable silence before finally speaking. I owe you an apology. I looked at him surprised. My father never apologized. I spent your whole life comparing you to your brother and sister. He continued, his voice gruff. I thought because you were quiet, because you didn't brag, because you weren't flashy. I thought that meant you weren't achieving anything. He shook his head. That was my failure, not yours. I didn't know what to say. 28 years of feeling invisible and now this. I don't need you to be proud of me, Dad. I finally said I stopped needing that a long time ago. I know. He met my eyes. But I am proud of you. I just wish I'd said it sooner. It wasn't a movie-perfect reconciliation. He didn't cry. I didn't forgive everything instantly. And years of being overlooked didn't disappear with one conversation. But it was a start. Jessica found me as I was leaving. Megan, wait. I turned. My cousin looked smaller somehow, less golden, more human. I had no idea, she said, about any of it. I always thought. She trailed off. You always thought I was the failure cousin? She winced. I wouldn't say failure. It's okay. I know what everyone thought. It's what I let them think. Why? She seemed genuinely confused. If I'd built what you built, I'd want everyone to know. I considered the question because I didn't build it for them. I built it because I love animals, and I wanted to help people care for them. The recognition, the money, the success, that was all secondary. I would have done it even if no one ever noticed. Jessica was quiet for a moment. That's actually kind of amazing. It's not amazing. It's just me. I smiled at her. Congratulations on the baby, by the way. I hope she's healthy and happy. Thanks. She hesitated. Maybe we could get lunch sometime. I'd love to hear more about your hospitals. I'd like that. I drove home that night feeling something I hadn't expected. Peace. For years I'd carried a quiet anger about being overlooked. I told myself I didn't care, but some part of me had always wanted them to see me. To acknowledge that what I'd built mattered. But sitting in my car watching the sunset paint the sky over the mountains I loved, I realized something. I'd never been invisible. I'd been focused. While my family was busy measuring success by titles and salaries and social status, I'd been building something real. Something that helped thousands of animals and the families who loved them. Something that employed dozens of people and served communities across 2 states. They hadn't seen me because they were looking in the wrong places. But I'd been there all along, growing, creating, making a difference, whether they noticed or not. Last month I opened the Seattle location. It's our biggest and most advanced hospital yet. 24-hour emergency care, specialized surgical suites, a rehabilitation center for injured wildlife. The grand opening was attended by local news, city officials, and hundreds of community members. My parents came. My brother and sister came. Even Jessica came, baby bump and all. My mother stood in the lobby looking around at the gleaming facility with my name on the wall and burst into tears. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. You see me now, I said. That's what matters. My grandmother passed away 2 months after the baby shower. In her will, she left me her wedding ring, and a note that said to my Megan, who never needed to be loud to be extraordinary, build your quiet empire, sweetheart. The world will catch up. I wear that ring every day. If you're watching this and you're the quiet one in your family, the overlooked one, the dismissed one, the one whose passions aren't considered prestigious enough, I want you to know something. Your success doesn't need an audience. Build anyway. Create anyway. Chase your passion anyway. The people who matter will eventually see you. And the ones who don't, they were never looking in the right direction to begin with. My parents said I just liked pets. I turned that love into a $14 million veterinary empire, and I'm just getting started. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and comment below where you're watching from. I'd love to know how many quiet builders are out there creating something beautiful while the world looks the other way. And remember, being underestimated is a gift. It means no one sees you coming. This is Megan Wheeler, and this is my truth. Closing lines: your success doesn't need an audience. Build. Anyway, being underestimated is a gift. It means no one sees you coming. My parents said I just like pets. I turned that love into a $14 million veterinary empire.